What was, so you obviously transitioned then from kind of working in a restaurant to, you said, consulting.
Yes.
What's consulting like?
Consulting's fun. We just talked about being a good leader, being a good communicator. Restaurant owners are typically poor business people.
Really? Why is
Yes,
that?
they're not very well with time management. They're not very good with management.
Okay.
And they get very set in their ways. We did this 6 months ago and it's always worked. So 20 years later, we do it the same way because that's the way we know to do it. And the adaptability, just normal business sense. I've always said that, most restaurant owners couldn't run a dog grooming shop. And that's what happens. And the consulting end came in there. I started, and it just started as doing inventory for loss. Bartenders over pour. I developed the system and the software, and then it slowly graduated into, would you take care of our food inventory? Mm-hmm. Would you take care of hiring our employees? Would you take care of reprimanding them? Would you help us do menus? Would you help us? And then it just encompassed everything.
Man, that's so interesting. For the owner that, like you said, hasn't changed in 20 years, is a part of that due to, hey, you have your regulars that are there once a week at this time, and so as long as they're coming, then it seems like we're okay, but you might be missing out on X number of people that just aren't in your restaurant because you aren't changing anything.
Exactly. We say in the restaurant industry, if you haven't completely re-identified yourself every 7 years, you're obsolete.
Really?
Yes.
Man.
When you think, 10 years ago, the thought of there was a whole population that would refuse to eat meat, dairy, that was a segmented group. That was maybe 5 people a month. Now in our restaurant, we have one menu dedicated to that clientele. And we are one of the few restaurants that actually cater to that. Normally people come in and say, I'm vegan. We'll throw you something together. Uh-huh. Well, as that customer, you don't feel very wanted or like, hey, they really thought of my dietary restriction. So if you're not evolving, and most restaurants, guys, I eat meat. I'm sorry if you don't.
Sure.
But I'm not going to adapt.
Me too. So I hear you.
Yeah. But then you get to that point where you start looking at how the culture's evolved. And if you're not adapting to the culture, you're leaving customers out. And in a restaurant, I always tell people we're entertainers because we're always on view. And we're there to service the community.
Yeah.
So if there's a large segment of the community that doesn't want to eat meat and wants a tofu-driven menu, and you're not doing that, you're never going to generate those customers into your restaurant.